The large screen in the United Nations Hall showed a strange ship moving slowly toward Earth. Everyone in the room was quiet. World leaders, military chiefs, and scientists all stared at the alien vessel that had appeared near the moon just hours ago. "It's sending another message," said Dr. Tom Miller, head of the global communication team. His voice was steady, but his hand shook as he adjusted his glasses. The message appeared on the screen in perfect English. "We come in peace. We wish to meet. Send one ship. These are the coordinates." General Robert Wilson stood up. "It could be a trap. If they wanted to attack, they could have done it already," said President Anna Lee. "Their ship is at least 3 times bigger than our largest space station. We need to respond." After much debate, the world leaders agreed to send a ship. They chose Captain James Walker to lead the mission. He was known for being calm under pressure and good with words. 3 days later, the Earth diplomatic vessel Horizon left orbit with a crew of 30 people from different countries. Captain Walker stood on the bridge, looking at the stars. "Captain, we're approaching the meeting point," said his pilot, Mark Green. Walker nodded. "All stations report." "Science team ready," said Dr. Lisa Reed. "Security standing by," said Major Frank Davis. "Communications open," said Officer Jane Brown. The Horizon slowed as it reached the coordinates. The alien ship was waiting, silent and massive. Its hull was smooth and silver, with no visible weapons. "They're sending a docking request," said Brown. "They want us to come aboard." Walker took a deep breath. "Accept it. Tell the landing team to prepare." The docking was smooth, and Walker led a team of 10 through the airlock. The air inside the alien ship was breathable, but had a sweet smell. The walls glowed with a soft blue light. They were met by 3 different alien species standing side by side. The one in the middle stepped forward. It was tall and thin with pale blue skin and 4 arms. Its face had large eyes, but no visible mouth. "Welcome, humans," said the alien, though its voice seemed to come from a small device on its chest. "I am Envoy Tun of the Assembly. We have been watching your world for some time." Walker introduced himself and his team. "We represent Earth. We're honored to meet you." Tun gestured to the aliens beside him. "This is Delegate Moore of the Killari." The short, furry alien nodded. "And this is High Commander Vex of the Teresi." The third alien was taller than Tun, with red scales and sharp features. It did not nod or smile. "The Assembly is a union of 27 species from different stars," explained Tun. "We have been waiting for your people to develop sufficient technology before making contact." As they walked through the ship, Tun showed them wonders they could barely understand. Rooms where objects floated without gravity, plants that glowed in the dark, screens that showed distant planets in real time. "We offer friendship and knowledge," said Tun. "The universe is vast, but can be dangerous. The Assembly provides protection and guidance to developing species." Walker noticed that while Tun and Moore seemed friendly, High Commander Vex watched the humans with cold eyes. When Vex thought no one was looking, Walker saw him whisper something to an aide who quickly left the room. Later, during a meal of strange but delicious food, Dr. Reed leaned close to Walker. "Captain, some of these technologies could advance Earth by centuries." Walker nodded but kept his voice low. "Yes, but I wonder what they want in return." As if hearing his thoughts, Tun approached. "Captain Walker, the Assembly Council wishes to discuss a treaty with Earth. We can offer technology, medicine, and access to the stars. In return, we ask only for cooperation and certain, reasonable limitations." "What kind of limitations?" asked Walker. Tun's large eyes blinked slowly. "Nothing to worry about. Just guidelines to ensure peaceful integration into the galactic community." From across the room, High Commander Vex watched the humans with narrowed eyes. While the others didn't notice, Walker saw his expression. It wasn't curiosity or even caution in those alien eyes. It was contempt. Walker smiled at Tun but made a mental note to proceed carefully. First contact had been made, But he sensed this was just the beginning of a complicated relationship between Earth and the stars. What none of them knew was that another presence was watching. Hidden in the shadows of space, ancient eyes observed the meeting. The collectors had been watching Earth for millennia, and they knew what the assembly was not telling the humans. The game had begun. 6 months after first contact, Earth was different. Alien ships now visited regularly. People looked up at the night sky with new eyes, knowing they were not alone. In New York, the United Nations building was decorated with flags from Earth and banners showing the assembly symbol. Today was Treaty Day. After months of talks, Earth would officially join the galactic community. Captain James Walker stood near the window, watching diplomats from 20 countries enter the large meeting room. He wore his best uniform, but his face showed worry. "You don't look happy for someone making history," said Admiral Taylor, walking up beside him. Taylor was older, with gray hair and a stern face that rarely smiled. "The treaty gives us a lot," Walker said quietly. "New medicine, clean energy, faster ships. But the restrictions trouble me." Admiral Taylor nodded. "Limited military ships. No weapons in space beyond our moon. No colonies in certain star systems. Yes, I've read it all. They say it's for safety, but it feels like they're keeping us in a box," Walker said. Before Taylor could answer, President Lee approached them. "Gentlemen, it's time." The room became quiet as 7 aliens entered. Envoy Tun led them, followed by Delegate Moore and others from different species. High Commander Vex came last, his red scales gleaming under the lights. Tun spoke first. "Today marks a historic moment. Earth joins the assembly as a protected member. This treaty will guide your safe entry into the galactic community." President Lee nodded. "Earth is grateful for this opportunity. We look forward to peaceful cooperation." The treaty signing was broadcast worldwide. People in cities everywhere watched on giant screens. Some cheered, others worried, but everyone knew the world had changed forever. After the ceremony, a smaller meeting took place. President Lee, Captain Walker, Admiral Taylor, and Dr. Reed sat with the alien representatives. "Now to discuss the joint colony," said Tun. "The moon of the gas giant in the Proxima system is perfect for humans. We will help you establish New Horizon there." Dr. Reed looked excited. "Our scientists are eager to study the new environment." 10,000 colonists will be allowed initially," said Delegate Moore, his furry face showing what might be a smile. "The assembly will provide ships and supplies." High Commander Vex spoke for the first time. "The colony must follow assembly guidelines. No military bases, no weapons research." Admiral Taylor's jaw tightened, but he remained silent. Later, as the aliens left for their ship, Walker caught up with Tun in the hallway. "Envoy Tun, may I ask you something?" Walker said. "Why did you choose Earth now? Why not wait longer or come sooner?" Tun's large eyes studied Walker. "The universe has cycles, Captain. Species rise and fall. Some grow too quickly and destroy themselves or others. The assembly prevents such tragedies. And where does Earth fit in these cycles?" Walker asked. "That remains to be seen," Tun replied. "But High Commander Vex's people, the Teresi, once faced a violent species like yours. They barely survived the encounter." With that cryptic message, Tun left. 3 months later, the first colony ships departed Earth. Thousands of volunteers, scientists, builders, farmers, and their families said goodbye to Earth, excited to start new lives on New Horizon. Walker watched the launch from the space station. Admiral Taylor stood beside him. 10,000 now. Another 40,000 in the next year, Taylor said. "Our best and brightest." Walker nodded. "Building bridges between worlds. Or becoming hostages," Taylor said quietly. "I've doubled our secret ship production. If anything happens, we'll be ready." "The treaty forbids that," Walker reminded him. Taylor's face was grim. "Some rules are meant to be broken, especially when I don't trust our new friends." On the assembly mothership, High Commander Vex watched the colony ships leave Earth. "The humans send their people so eagerly," said his aide. "Like lambs to slaughter," Vex replied. "Begin the preparations. The assembly fears what humans may become. I will show them what humans truly are by provoking them to violence. Then the assembly will see I was right all along." "And if the other assembly members discover your plan?" asked the aide. Vex's mouth curved into what passed for a smile among his kind. "By then, it will be too late for the humans, and for anyone who stands with them." In the darkness beyond Neptune, a small ship with no markings watched everything. Inside, the collectors recorded and waited. The time to reveal themselves had not yet come. 1 year had passed since the first humans arrived at New Horizon. The colony was thriving. Dome buildings connected by covered walkways spread across the moon's surface. Fields of Earth crops grew under special lights. Children played in the colony's Central Park, which had trees brought from home. Dr. Lisa Reed walked through the science lab, checking readings from the atmosphere tests. Like many others, she had brought her family to New Horizon. Her husband taught at the new school, and her son loved exploring the controlled environment areas. "The new Earth plants are adapting well," said her assistant, Ben, looking at the small garden they had planted. "Better than expected," Reed agreed. "The soil here is rich in minerals our plants love." A message appeared on her screen from Colony Director Martin. "All department heads to the meeting room. Assembly representatives arriving in 1 hour." Reed frowned. "That's strange. They weren't scheduled to visit for another week." When she reached the meeting room, other colony leaders were already there, looking confused. "Did anyone know about this visit?" asked Director Martin. Everyone shook their heads. "Communications with Earth have been spotty since yesterday," said the communications officer. "We can't confirm if this visit is official." Director Martin straightened his jacket. "Well, we'll find out soon enough." An hour later, 3 assembly ships landed at the colony's landing pad. But instead of the usual diplomatic vessel, these were larger ships with dark hulls. Director Martin and his team went to greet the visitors. Dr. Reed watched on the monitor as the ship's doors opened. Red-scaled Teresi soldiers marched out, carrying weapons. "This isn't right," Reed whispered. On the screen, Director Martin stepped forward. "High Commander Vex, we weren't expecting." A flash of light. Martin fell to the ground. The other colony leaders tried to run but were shot down as well. Alarms blared throughout the colony. Reed grabbed her emergency bag from under her desk. "What's happening?" Ben asked, his face pale with fear. "We need to get to the emergency shelters," Reed said, trying to stay calm. "Now." They ran through the corridors as people rushed in all directions. Outside, through the dome's clear walls, more Teresi ships were landing. Reed grabbed a passing security officer. "What's going on?" "It's an attack," he said. "They're saying humans attacked an assembly ship, but it's a lie. They planned this." Reed thought quickly. "The research vessel in Hangar B. It has the experimental cloaking device. We need to get there." They changed direction, gathering a small group of scientists and engineers as they went. From every direction came sounds of weapons fire and screaming. Through a window, Reed saw Teresi soldiers herding colonists into groups. Others were simply shooting people where they stood. Men, women, children, it didn't matter to them. "They're killing everyone," whispered Ben in horror. Reed forced herself to look away. "We can't help them if we're dead. We need to get to Earth, tell them what's happening." They reached Hangar B by taking maintenance tunnels. 20 people had joined their group. The small research vessel wasn't designed for so many, but there was no choice. "Get everyone aboard," Reed ordered. "Start the engines quietly." As they prepared to leave, a wounded security officer stumbled in. They'd blocked the main communication array. "They're saying humans attacked first. It's a setup." "How many ships do they have?" Reed asked. "At least 30, he said, wincing in pain as someone bandaged his arm. "They were hiding behind the gas giant. This was planned for months." Reed looked at the colony through the hangar windows. Fires burned in several domes. Teresi soldiers moved methodically from building to building. How many colonists were here now? Someone asked quietly. 50,000. Reed answered, her voice breaking. Families. Children. The ship was ready. As they prepared to board, Reed took a small device from her lab coat. What's that? Ben asked. A recorder, she said. I'm going to document everything. The assembly needs to know what really happened here. As the ship rose quietly from the hangar, cloaking device engaged, Reed filmed the horror below. Entire residential domes were being depressurized, killing everyone inside instantly. Others were burning. Colonists who surrendered were lined up and executed. Why are they doing this? Ben asked, tears streaming down his face. Reed kept filming, though her hands shook. To prove humans are dangerous. By making us respond to this. And we will. The small ship slipped away from New Horizon, carrying the only survivors of what would become known as the massacre. Behind them, 50,000 humans, scientists, teachers, farmers, and their families were being systematically killed. And the assembly worlds were being told it was humanity's fault. In the shadows of space, a collector ship watched. For the first time in centuries, the ancient beings made a decision. It was time to intervene. The small research vessel drifted between asteroids, its cloaking device active. Inside, 23 survivors huddled in spaces designed for 8. They had been running for 3 weeks. Dr. Lisa Reed stared at the navigation screen. The mining outpost should be just ahead. If it's still there. And if the Teresi haven't reached it yet, Ben added. His once clean lab coat was now dirty and torn. Reed nodded grimly. After escaping New Horizon, they had tried to reach Earth directly, but Teresi scout ships patrolled every direct route. They had been forced to take a longer path through the asteroid belt, where the cloaking technology worked better among the rocks. I'm picking up human signals, said Mike, a communications technician. Standard mining frequencies. Hope flickered across tired faces. Reed made a decision. Take us in slowly. Keep the cloak active until we confirm it's safe. The asteroid mining station appeared ahead. A collection of modules attached to a large rock. Earth flags were visible on its outer hull. They're broadcasting normal work updates, Mike said. No distress signals. Reed took a deep breath. Open a channel, tight beam only. When a connection was established, a surprised face appeared on the screen. This is Outpost 47. Who are you? You're not on our schedule. This is Dr. Lisa Reed from New Horizon Colony. We need emergency docking and immediate secure communication with Earth. The man's expression changed. New Horizon. We got reports that rebels attacked the colony. That everyone was. It was no rebel attack. Reed interrupted, her voice hard. It was planned murder. I have proof. 2 hours later, Reed stood in the outpost's communication room. The station's 50 miners and technicians had gathered to watch as she prepared to send her message and evidence to Earth. The signal will take 40 minutes to reach Earth, said the outpost director. The assembly might detect it. They probably will, Reed agreed. That's why you should prepare to evacuate as soon as we transmit. She activated the recorder she had used to document the massacre, connecting it to the outpost's powerful transmitter. The horrific images appeared on the screen. Domes burning, colonists being executed, children killed alongside their parents. The room was silent except for a few people crying quietly. Sending now, Reed said, starting the transmission. To all Earth governments and military commands. This is the truth. On Earth, Admiral Taylor was in an emergency meeting with military leaders from around the world. The assembly had informed Earth that human extremists had attacked an assembly ship and then attacked the New Horizon colony when Teresi peacekeepers arrived. They claim all colonists were killed by human terrorists before their ships arrived, Taylor said, his face showing he didn't believe it. They're blocking our communications with the colony for safety reasons. A young officer burst into the room. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the mining outpost near Proxima. It's from New Horizon survivors." The room erupted in surprised voices. "Put it on screen," Taylor ordered. When Reed's recording played, showing the true events of the massacre, the room fell silent in horror. 50,000 civilians, scientists, teachers, children, systematically killed. This was no peacekeeping mission. Reed's voice said over the terrible images. This was planned genocide. High Commander Vex orchestrated everything. When the recording ended, no one spoke for several moments. "Verify this," someone finally said. "It could be faked." "I've known Dr. Reed for years," Taylor replied. She wouldn't lie. "But yes, verify everything." Within hours, the recording spread across Earth. People watched in shock as the truth was revealed. Grief turned to rage. Countries that had fought each other for centuries now united in anger against the Teresi. The United Nations convened an emergency session. The vote was unanimous. Earth would respond with everything it had. Admiral Taylor was given command of all Earth forces. "We don't have ships that can match theirs," and A pointed out. "Then we'll build them," Taylor said. "Every factory, every shipyard, and we have something they don't expect." "What's that, sir?" "The ships we've been building in secret, the ones that violate the treaty. Get them ready." Meanwhile, in deep space, Dr. Reed's ship had left the mining outpost just before Teresi vessels arrived. Now they drifted in the darkness, low on fuel and supplies. "What do we do now?" Ben asked. Before Reed could answer, their sensors detected a ship approaching. Unlike any they had seen before, it was neither human nor assembly design. A strange voice came through their communication system. "Dr. Lisa Reed, I am observer of the collectors. We have been watching. It is time we talked." The survivors looked at each other in confusion and hope as the alien ship moved alongside theirs. Help had come from an unexpected place. Earth changed overnight. Countries that had been enemies for generations now worked together. Factories that made cars now built ship parts. Scientists shared secrets they had kept for decades. "We've never seen unity like this," said President Lee, looking at the reports from around the world. "Every nation is contributing." Admiral Taylor nodded. "Humans fight each other until something bigger threatens us all." They stood in a massive underground facility. Below them, workers swarmed over spaceships that had been built in secret, hidden from the assembly's watching eyes. "How many ships do we have ready?" President Lee asked. 37 combat-ready vessels," Taylor replied. "Another 45 will be finished within 2 months. We've been preparing since the treaty signing." "And the new weapons?" Taylor led her to a sealed room where scientists worked on strange devices. Dr. Walker's team adapted some assembly technology we were able to study. They weren't supposed to share their weapons with us, but our people are good at learning by watching. President Lee studied the busy workers. "Will it be enough?" Taylor's face was grim. "No, but we'll make them pay for every life they took." In deep space, Dr. Reed and the survivors from New Horizon had boarded the collector ship. The inside was unlike anything they had seen before. Curved walls that seemed alive, lights that followed their movements, air that smelled like a forest after rain. Observer, their collector host, was tall and slender with silver skin that reflected light like metal. His eyes were large and completely black, showing no white at all. "We have watched your species for 5,000 years, Observer explained, leading them through the ship. "We saw your first cities, your wars, your growth. Why didn't you contact us before?" Reed asked. "It was not time," Observer said simply. "But now, with the assembly divided, and the Teresi moving against you, we must act." He brought them to a large room with a glowing table in the center. Above it floated a map of the stars. "The assembly is not what it appears," Observer continued. "It began as a true coalition, but species like the Teresi have gained too much power. They fear young species that grow quickly, like yours." So they decided to kill us before we became a threat, Ben said bitterly. Observer nodded. High Commander Vex convinced many that humans are dangerous. The massacre was designed to provoke you into a response that would prove his point. Well, he'll get his response, said Mike, the communications technician. Earth won't let this go. But you cannot win a direct war, Observer said. Not yet. He touched the star map, and it changed to show an asteroid field. Here is where we can help. This place holds weapons created long ago, when my people faced extinction. Reed studied the map. Why would you give us weapons? You don't know us. Observer's black eyes seemed to look through her. We know enough. The balance of power must be maintained. No species should dominate all others. Meanwhile, on an assembly world far from Earth, Envoy Tun argued before the Assembly Council. The Great Hall was filled with representatives from 27 species. The evidence from the human survivors is clear, Tun said, his voice echoing. High Commander Vex orchestrated this massacre. The humans did not attack first. The humans are violent and unpredictable, Vex countered. My forces found human weapons on the assembly ship that was attacked. Weapons you planted, Tun said, his normally calm voice rising. This was genocide, not peacekeeping. The council murmured among themselves. Some believed Tun, others Vex. Delegate Moore, the small furry alien who had been present at first contact, stood up. I have seen the human recording. I believe it is genuine. The Terisi must answer for this crime. Vex's scaled face showed no emotion. By the time this council decides, it won't matter. The humans are already preparing for war. Their response will show their true nature. Back on Earth, Admiral Taylor addressed the combined fleet crews. Thousands of men and women from every nation stood at attention. In 3 days we launch, he said, his voice firm. The assembly thinks we are weak, divided. They believe we will either accept their lies or fight foolishly and be destroyed. He paused, looking at the determined faces before him. They're wrong. We fight not for revenge, but for justice, for the 50,000 voices silenced at New Horizon, for the future of our species. The room erupted in cheers. In the shadows of the launch bay, Captain James Walker watched. He had returned from a diplomatic mission to find his world forever changed. Now he had a new mission, leading a small stealth team to the coordinates Dr. Reed had transmitted, to find the collectors and their ancient weapons. Space around the Terisi homeworld was busy with ships. They had gathered their fleet to protect their planet, expecting Earth's attack. What they didn't expect was how Earth would attack. Admiral Taylor stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Vengeance Asterisk. It was Earth's largest warship, built in secret beneath the Antarctic ice. Around him, officers monitored screens showing the fleet's position. All ships report ready, Admiral, said his second-in-command. Taylor nodded. Begin Operation Justice. Instead of attacking directly, the Earth fleet appeared at different points around the Terisi system. Some emerged from behind moons. Others seemed to appear from nowhere, using the cloaking technology they had improved after studying Dr. Reed's research vessel. They're confused, reported the sensor officer. Their ships are trying to regroup. Launch fighters, Taylor ordered. Hundreds of small, fast ships shot from the larger vessels. They were piloted by Earth's best, former enemies now fighting side by side. On the Terisi command ship, High Commander Vex watched in surprise. How did they get so many ships? He demanded. The treaty limited their development. They ignored the treaty, his aide replied. And these ships use tactics we haven't seen before. They don't follow standard attack patterns. Vex growled in frustration. Destroy them. All ships target the human vessels. The battle spread across the star system. Terisi ships were larger and more powerful, but human vessels were faster and more unpredictable. Humans had studied old Earth sea battles and applied those strategies to space, something the Terisi had never considered. Meanwhile, Captain Walker's small stealth ship approached the Terisi homeworld from a different direction. With him were Dr. Reed and a team of specialists, along with Observer from the Collectors. The Terisi defense grid is focused on the main battle, Walker said, checking their approach. We should be able to slip through. Reed looked at the weapons they had recovered from the Collector asteroid base. They were small devices that glowed with blue light. Are you sure these will work? She asked Observer. They will disable, not destroy, Observer replied. That is their purpose. Their ship slipped past the outer defenses. On the planet below, in the capital city, the assembly headquarters stood, a tall building where representatives from all species met. We need to broadcast the truth to all assembly worlds simultaneously, Reed said. The evidence needs to be seen by everyone. Walker nodded. That's why we're here. Their ship landed quietly in a service area behind the headquarters. Using collector technology that bent light around them, Walker's team moved through the building unseen. In the main battle, Earth forces were taking heavy losses. Terisi weapons tore through human ships despite their best tactics. We've lost 23 ships, an officer reported to Admiral Taylor. Taylor's face was grim but determined. Continue the attack. We just need to hold out until Captain Walker completes his mission. On the Terisi command ship, Vex received alarming news. Our planetary defense grid is failing. Systems are shutting down. Impossible, Vex shouted. How? No one had an answer. Unknown to them, Walker's team had placed Observer's devices at key points in the defense network. In the assembly headquarters, Reed and Walker reached the main communication center. They quickly subdued the few staff members there and connected their evidence to the system. Broadcasting now, Reed said, activating the transmission. Across thousands of worlds, billions of beings watched as the truth was revealed. They saw the unprovoked attack on New Horizon, the systematic killing of colonists, Vex's lies to the assembly. On ships throughout the battle, screens suddenly showed these images. Many Terisi officers stopped fighting, horrified by what they saw. On 3 assembly warships that had joined the Terisi, commanders ordered their crews to stop firing on human vessels. We will not be part of this, one assembly captain declared, moving his ship between Earth forces and Terisi attackers. In his command ship, Vex watched his plans falling apart. Enraged, he gave a final order. Prepare the planet killer. Target Earth. If we cannot stop them here, we will end their world. His weapons officer turned to him in shock. Sir, that would kill billions of innocent. Do it, Vex shouted. The officer hesitated, then slowly put down his control pad. No, Commander, I will not. Around the bridge, other officers stood up, facing Vex. This ends now, said his second in command. You've led us into disgrace. The assembly will never forgive what we've done. As his own crew turned against him, Vex realized he had lost. The truth had been more powerful than his lies. And as human and assembly ships began to stand down, a new chapter in galactic history was about to begin. 3 months after the battle, the Assembly Great Hall was full. Representatives from all 27 member species sat in their places. But today, new seats had been added. Admiral Taylor and President Lee walked down the center aisle, followed by Captain Walker and Dr. Reed. They wore formal Earth uniforms, created specially for this day. Behind them came other humans, military officers, scientists, and diplomats. Envoy Tun greeted them at the front of the hall. Today we welcome Earth as a full member of the Assembly. Not as a protected species, but as equals. The hall erupted in sounds of approval. Not all were happy. Some species still feared humans, but most recognized that the galaxy had changed. High Commander Vex and his closest supporters stood in a secure area to one side. They would face justice for their crimes. The Terisi people had removed their government and asked for peace. The treaty has been rewritten, Tun announced. Earth may develop as it wishes. All restrictions are removed. President Lee stepped forward. Earth accepts membership in the Assembly. We seek not revenge, but justice. Not dominance, but partnership. Later, At the reception, Admiral Taylor stood with Captain Walker near a window overlooking the Teresi capital. "We lost 62 ships and nearly 3,000 good people," Taylor said quietly. "Was it worth it?" Walker looked at the gathering of species talking, sharing food, and beginning to understand each other. "Ask me in 50 years, he replied. "But I think today is a good start." Across the room, Dr. Reed spoke with Observer. The collectors still drew curious looks from other species, many of whom had thought collectors were just legends. "Will your people join the assembly now?" Reed asked. Observer's silver face reflected the light. "We will observe for now, but we will no longer hide. The balance is shifting. New alliances are forming. And the weapons we used?" Reed asked. "There are more, aren't there?" "Some secrets should remain secret," Observer replied, "until needed again." 6 months later, a new colony was established on New Horizon. Not just a human colony, but a place where multiple species lived and worked together. At its center stood a memorial, 50,000 lights that glowed at night, one for each life lost in the massacre. Admiral Taylor and Dr. Reed walked through the memorial one evening. Construction sounds echoed in the distance as new buildings rose. "Sometimes I still can't believe we're here again," Reed said, "building on the same ground where so many died." "It's what humans do," Taylor replied. "We rebuild. We remember, but we move forward." A young assembly diplomat approached them hesitantly. "Admiral Taylor, President Lee asked me to find you. We've received a message from the outer systems." "What kind of message?" Taylor asked. "A distress call. Several frontier worlds are reporting attacks from unknown ships coming from beyond the galaxy's edge. They're asking for help." "Why come to us?" Reed asked. "The assembly has more ships, more experience." The diplomat looked uncomfortable. "The attacked worlds specifically asked for human leadership. They said your people understand what it means to fight against overwhelming odds, to stand when others would surrender." Taylor and Reed exchanged looks. "How soon can we leave?" Taylor asked. 1 week later, a joint fleet prepared to depart for the frontier. Human ships flew alongside vessels from 12 assembly species. Admiral Taylor would command, with Captain Walker leading the advance team. Before boarding his ship, Walker spoke with Envoy Tun. "Did you ever imagine this when you first contacted Earth?" Walker asked. Tun's large eyes studied the busy launch area. "The universe unfolds in unexpected ways. Your people suffered a great wrong, yet you choose to help others rather than seek more vengeance." 50,000 died at New Horizon, Walker said. "We'll always carry that loss, but their deaths brought change that might save millions more." As the fleet prepared to jump to light speed, Admiral Taylor stood on his bridge. Earth was visible on the main screen, growing smaller as they moved away. "Send the message to all ships," he ordered. His communications officer nodded. "Channel open, sir." Taylor looked at the mixed crew on his bridge. Humans working alongside beings from other worlds. New friendships forming. New understanding growing. "This is Admiral Taylor to all ships. We go to defend those who cannot defend themselves. We go to stand against the darkness. We go to honor those who can no longer stand with us." He paused, then added the words that would become famous throughout the galaxy. "Remember, New Horizon. Remember and fly with me." The fleet jumped to light speed, disappearing into the stars. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as protectors. Not seeking vengeance, but justice. And somewhere in the darkness between galaxies, the collectors watched and approved.